what do you think about the Abraham Accord? I already know about the Cyrus Accord, but the Abraham Accord about all the nations in the region normalizing their relations with Israel, trade, and all of that. Like the main player that hasn't been jumping on board is Arabia, right? And we have a couple of others. What do you think about those nations want to like jump on that train as soon as possible?
Okay, I think okay. I'm gonna repeat your question because your audio today is very low, Johan, compared to other days. I don't know, like was it just me or other people were having a hard time hearing as well? So you're talking about my opinions regarding the Abraham Accord and what I think, or like right now or going forward. Like I'm gonna say all of it, right? And also the impact of this revolution once Iran gets free, what the impact is going to have on the Abraham Accord. So the Abraham Accord is a necessity for the Arab countries around the Persian Gulf. And Saudi Arabia is desperately trying to normalize relationship with Israel because they need it, because their understanding is that they are too reliant on fossil fuels, and they desperately need to diversify their economies. And their understanding is that at some point technology is going to reduce, they're going to find alternative sources of energy, and it's going to reduce the revenue they could make from energy to the point that they go bankrupt. The Saudi Arabia especially is terrified about an Islamic revolution happening in its own country, similar to what happened in Iran in 1979. And Saudi Arabia is terrified that if they eventually become weaker and weaker because of the drop of price in oil and gas, at some point they're not going to be able to hold everything together. So they're really desperately trying to diversify the economy, and they have the understanding that the people who own this area are the Israelis. Like this entire region, the greatest security force in this region is Israel. But the problem is that they want to normalize relationship with Israel to be able to get part of this club that basically stabilizes this entire region. And for two reasons: first, because they see the Islamic Republic as the main source of instability and threat to them, an Islamic Republic, it really understands what the weaknesses of Saudi Arabia is. And for Khomeini especially, Saudi Arabia was the next destination. It wasn't Israel, it was Saudi Arabia, to expand their Islamic empire, their pan-Islamic empire in the region. Saudi Arabia was the next destination. So ever since 1979, these people have not had a single good night's sleep. They're always being reacting to the Islamic Republic. So they understand the greatest force in the region against the Islamic Republic is Israel, and they want to be on the side of Israel, right, to be able to unite with everybody that is not the Islamic Republic against the Islamic Republic. That's what they have always been trying to do. This is the main source of tension between Saudi Arabia and Qatar, by the way, because they kind of saw the Qataris on the other side of this fight, closer to the Islamic Republic, right? The problem that Saudi Arabia has with getting into the Abrahamic Accords and normalizing relationship with Israel is their own population and the entire Islamic world, which would not tolerate that, right? This is why they constantly have to pretend to care about the Palestinian cause, and they do not give a shit about the Palestinian cause. They hate the Palestinian cause. They are, if they ever get their hands on a genie or something, the first thing they would wish for, it would be the complete, eh, you know destruction of everything that is Palestinian. Okay, they hate they hate Palestinian the Palestinian cause and the Palestinians, I think, more than anyone else in the world. The Saudis, like, they see them as the major source of all of their many of their problems, right? But they have to make conditions for the Abrahamic Accord. It's actually very funny because I think a year ago or so, I remember them sending the message that indirectly to the Israelis that you guys could, what we like, because it originally was that we need a commitment to the two-state solution to be able to get to an Abrahamic Accord, and they kept on making it. They didn't even say we need a two-state solution. They were saying that we need a commitment to the two-state solution. Then they changed it to we need to just see that you guys will say that you will try for the two-state solution. Then we say like we need to see you guys saying that you consider the two-state solution. Then they right. Then they made it lower, and they said like you guys don't even have to write this down. Like this doesn't have to be recorded anywhere. We just need an oral confirmation that you guys are thinking about the two-state solution, right? For us to get to the Abrahamic Accord. So you can see like how, but because they need to be able to sell it to their own population, because their population, this is the opposite of Iran, by the way. The Saudis want to get closer to Israel, but they're dealing with a population that doesn't. It's the opposite of Iran, because in Iran, the regime doesn't want to get closer to Israel, but you have a population that does, right? So it's basically the mirror image of that. Um, so when Iran gets free, this is going to be, when it comes to this whole how does this impact all of this dynamic, this, the Abrahamic Accord, it has positive and negative effects for Saudi Arabia. The negative is like, well, the whole point of this was to fight against the Islamic Republic, and the Islamic Republic not being there makes them very happy, right? Like that's the whole point of this. Like that, a lot of people think like, no, the Saudis want the Islamic Republic to be there because now they have to compete with their oil and gas. They have to compete with their tourism, and then on top of that, relevant to what you're saying, they also become less relevant to the Israelis, because the Israelis now have Iran as an ally, which is makes the Saudis less relevant, less important, right? And then you could see also Princess of Pahlavi has always continued talking about extending the Abrahamic Accord to the Cyrus Accord, with Iran being included in that. So, but the positive is that the Saudis are interested in stability, because that's what attracts tourism capital. Even if a lot of it is stolen by Iran and tourism goes to them, I think there's going to be so much more tourism in the region, and so much more investment, and so much more trade, that even if they get a smaller percentage because Iran is now free, the net effect, the total amount will be higher, because everybody would benefit from stability in the region. So this is why I predicted that the Saudis, once this happens, the Saudis would be for regime change. And people were like, Armin, no, you're wrong. The Saudis benefit from the Islamic Republic being in power. But I've been proven right that no, the Saudis actually prefer the regime to be gone. They're the number one people right now insisting that the Americans continue until this whole thing, the whole regime collapses. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Take it
Right.
as a compliment. But if you add a lot more paranoia, a lot more conspiracy theories, and a lot of if they can, they would, a kind of mindset, then you'd think more like the Arabs. For example, Qatar, as far as they are concerned, if the Saudis could take over Qatar and take over their resources, they would. As far as they are concerned, if Israel could do it, if Saudi, for example, one of their concerns is that if Israel is would want to one day they take over Saudi and the Arab, because you have to understand that's the culture that they understand more. It's like, okay, so there are right now there are some restraints. That's why the Israelis are not doing it. This is why the Saudis are not doing it. But in their minds, they're always like ready for the
Right.
day that like somebody would break loose and like take over.
So,
Especially the Qataris, who are extremely like a tiny nation. They think like they are okay, who's going to take over, so they're playing with that. That's the other thing. So it's not like they want to be friends with the Saudis. They're terrified of the Saudis. And there is another player, Turkey, which the Saudis are, which are also playing like, the axis that they had been trying to create. And if you look at like the Saudi media, then they would say like one of the reasons to, yes, collaborate with Israel, so that Israel, so first of all, it would take the sting out of Israel would wanting to take over Saudi, and so that they would block Turkey from the north. So it's a lot more
so,
paranoid in general when you think about the Arabs, and a lot
so,
more
so
like family drama.
all right, so let me go back to Johan, because I asked him a question. I just want to make sure that I hear him say, because I asked Johan, I'll respond to Rebecca very soon, but let me just make sure that, because I asked Johan, like, Johan, did I answer your question?
Yes, very well. It was interesting. Hopefully, the new Iran aligning with the countries in the region together with Israel will be a very good thing when you think about what these evil forces that are still going to be around. Like most or all, should I say, Western countries have a lot of these people, and it's going to be just a continuous word war, like going back and forth. And having a stable and prosperous Middle East is going to just make everything so much easier. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thank you
That
very
would
much.
be, yeah. Yeah, no worries, no worries. And I'll respond to Rebecca. By the way, Rebecca, we have an easy way. So I saw you were like raising your hand to say something. We actually have a very easy way, so you don't have to like go like this. You could like you see Jeffrey put a two in the chat because he has a comment on this. So we put a two in the chat, and the admins will take care of it. So you don't like that way.
Sorry.
No, no, that's okay. That's okay.
To
That's
me, it's
okay. No,
like I
yeah,
heard you,
yeah,
and it's like
yeah. No worries, no worries.
like
I
you
so,
have to add like it's
yeah,
too logical, it's too healthy
yeah,
minded. It's like if you
yeah.
don't have like if you don't
So
add mental
so
illness when you talk about
before you add any
escapism,
other
then
points, let me add to let me respond to the first point that you mentioned before you add any other points. Okay, so because I just want to make sure that we're organized here. Okay, so with regards to, I know you're gonna disagree with me, but and it's okay. But I wouldn't. When you say you don't think like an Arab, my experience is that Arabs are not a monolith. I've spoken to many, many different Arab people, and I've gotten so many different perspectives and so many different views and so many different angles regard for different philosophies regarding the way they look at the world. So I really think it's like it depends, right? I have spoken to so many Arabs that very much think like me, for example. Like I have seen many Arabs that are their line of thinking is similar to mine, and I've seen many Arabs that are considered our enemy, right? So that's why like I wouldn't try to group them all together. But that's me.